Have you noticed how in the past couple of years, from New York to California, wealthy people have been buying homes like they're buying cabbage? But starting last week, these wealthy individuals began collectively backing out of real estate deals. Some people claimed that this is because the rich are becoming poorer and can't afford homes anymore. Others say it's because President Trump is taking from the rich to give to the poor. Regardless of your opinion, I think we can all agree on one thing. If wealthy people are collectively retreating to avoid risk, how significant is this risk for ordinary people? And how can average folks protect themselves? Let's look at why so many wealthy people are backing out of real estate deals. Before we analyze this issue, please hit the like button for this video. Your likes are my biggest motivation to share more content. This isn't actually about real estate itself. The houses are still the same houses, and prices don't double overnight. So why are wealthy people pulling back? Because their confidence has collapsed. We often think that housing prices are just numbers, the price tag. But that's not the case. Whether you can afford a house is determined by your asset fluctuations. Last week and the week before, these fluctuations were extreme. The American stock market took a hit, and wealthy people were dragged down with it. How did this affect the wealthy? According to Realtor.com statistics, for the wealthiest 10% of Americans, stocks and funds account for 35 to 40% of their total assets, while real estate makes up 15 to 20%. So how do they buy homes? When their stocks rise significantly, they feel richer and take out a portion to buy property. Since most have professional financial planners who consider tax avoidance strategies, buying real estate is almost essential for many wealthy individuals. But when their stocks fall, even if housing prices haven't changed, they have to reorganize their financial planning and reconfigure their asset allocations. Have you noticed that this logic is completely opposite to how ordinary people buy homes? Regular people see low market prices and want to buy. But wealthy people don't typically look at prices. They allocate real estate flexibly based on their own accounts. So for the wealthy or upper middle class, housing prices are never an absolute value. What actually concerns them when they're avoiding risk? Let me share a case study at Irvine, California. As you may know, Irvine real estate has a relatively high proportion of wealthy buyers. A local agent had a client whose husband is a mid-level manager at a tech company, the family breadwinner, while his wife has her own beauty salon business. They had already bought one house through this agent and were planning to buy another in Irvine. Obviously not cheap, they'd qualify as wealthy. The couple had been viewing houses for a month, very seriously. They visited model homes weekly, choosing furniture and lighting fixtures based on their preferences. You could tell they wanted to make their home very fancy, so they were serious about buying. But in the second week of consecutive stock market drops, the wife texted the agent saying they needed to wait on the house they were planning to buy near the Great Park in Irvine. She expressed concern and hoped the agent would understand. What the wife didn't say explicitly was that their accounts had probably shrunk by nearly 20% during the continuous stock market crash. She'd lost confidence. It wasn't that they were dissatisfied with the house or its design. Their stock accounts were seriously depleting, and their enthusiasm for property ownership cooled along with it. Some might say, that's a family heavily invested in stocks. Just buy fewer stocks and the risk won't be so great. But that's not how risk avoidance works. Let me tell you about another predicament facing my materials supplier. He doesn't really understand stocks. He came to America years ago and focused on building materials. But this round of tariff trade wars has left him stunned. The day Trump imposed tariffs, he was already dazed because many of his processing materials are imported from mainland China and Mexico. He has a factory in America for assembly. In the past couple of days, he's been thinking about two words: bankruptcy. Why? Because mainland China's labor costs are low. No matter how much he reduces costs in America, even if China tariffs double, the prices after import duties are still lower than his. For example, with curtains of the same model and material, finished products shipped from mainland China are cheaper than his American assembled products using imported materials. He was planning to buy a wedding house for his eldest son in May. When I saw him at the construction site last week, he looked particularly distressed. When I asked why, he said he might not even be able to view houses now for his son's wedding home. Of course, some people say buying a wedding house is an outdated custom. I think we should respect each family's different considerations for their children. For families with children preparing to marry, a wedding home can be a necessary purchase. So to return to our analysis of current US real estate risks, there are two major concerns. One, after the stock market crash, people who thought they could continue buying homes and acquiring assets may have lost even their down payments. Two, with the tariff trade war beginning, companies that were already fragile may face even more difficult operations. Some people are being hit by both stocks and tariffs simultaneously. This situation likely affects many, from the wealthy to ordinary citizens. Many people might not understand this. They keep talking about housing prices crashing and wanting to buy at the bottom. But it's not housing prices that determine whether you can buy a house, it's the broader economic environment. Stock market volatility, trade wars, and constantly changing policies create long-term uncertainty that causes many people's assets to shrink significantly. They no longer have the capital to buy at the bottom. When the nest is overturned, no eggs remain intact. This contagion will gradually transmit from the wealthy to entry-level housing. What qualifies as entry-level housing in America varies by region. Let's use an example to illustrate the predicament ordinary homebuyers face, how this affects average homebuyers. The median home price in America is around $400,000. With a 20% down payment, that's $80,000. If a family has saved $100,000 through various methods, hard savings, small dividends, various small stock appreciations, and then sees their stock account drop 20% last week, they'll realize they've lost $20,000. With only $80,000 left in their account, just enough for an entry-level down payment, will they still buy a house? With just $80,000 left, whether you're wealthy or not, everyone is affected. Market confidence is shaken because these errors aren't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, but $20,000 is gone, and you're not sure if it will happen again next month. So let's return to our initial topic. Today, we're considering stocks, real estate, and trade together for a comprehensive understanding of how to resist this round of risks. Since people likely have different financial backgrounds, their methods for risk resistance will naturally differ. I suggest categorizing into three types of situations. Find which one applies to you and choose the most suitable method to resist risk and maintain safety. Type 1. Those with minimal stock investments. The first category is people with few stock investments, primarily holding cash or physical assets like real estate. Maybe you prefer saving money and buying property when you have cash. When interest rates were particularly low a couple of years ago, you rushed to buy more houses to take advantage of the rates. You probably didn't touch stocks much, or maybe you cleared your positions early. Besides cash and houses, you have little else. Your current situation is relatively safe. I suggest not rushing back into the market, but don't just sit idle either. Keep a close eye on wealthy people around you who are preparing to exit. Watch what's happening with their assets. For example, using the Irvine case again, observe how many people are canceling transactions, how much stock they're selling at a loss, whether they're delaying investments, or even filing for bankruptcy. These signals from your circle, your surrounding industry, and community are more timely than news and vividly real. When markets are anxious, it's time to calmly see the situation clearly and reflect on your own circumstances by observing others. Type 2. Those already deep in the stock market. The second category is people who may be deeply invested in the stock market and have seen their accounts shrink. This shrinkage varies in magnitude. Some are more conservative with a 40-60 allocation, pretty standard, old-school allocation with no real estate and minimal cash reserves. These friends have probably been suffering this past week. As one viewer commented, this round of trade war and sudden stock market crash has made him feel poor at heart. He still has hundreds of thousands on paper, but psychologically feels impoverished. These friends probably don't dare make moves easily anymore. You might even tremble when opening your brokerage app in the morning, conflicted about whether to take another look with eyes closed. But your priority now isn't guessing whether it will rise or fall, but quickly taking inventory of which assets you must defend. Don't force yourself to buy a house or make any large expenditures soon. Stop thinking about buying the dip. Only those without assets can afford to lose. Some viewers ask how to precisely catch the bottom. Don't hope for a hard bottom. Only after you've caught your breath can you talk about buying low and selling high. Without assets as backup, where would you find the courage to buy the dip? Type 3. Those still watching from the sidelines. The third category is people still observing, especially those wondering whether to enter the market, mainly younger people. You're relatively calm observers of this brutal stock disaster and tariff trade war. Very likely, you pay attention to the stock market and real estate daily, but have hesitated to enter. My advice is straightforward. Now is not the time for impulsive decisions. It's the best time to train your judgment. Many young people have excellent professional backgrounds, many college and graduate students. Your advantage is your expertise. Think more about market data, less about internet emotions. Focus more on long-term industry development, less on short-term price fluctuations. When you truly see a low point in your own industry's asset prices and market policies become very clear, and after this period passes with more controllable risks, your decisions will be relatively more rational. Finally, I'd love to hear your insights. Let's imagine, if the stock market hadn't crashed, if bonds had remained stable, and you had $200,000 in cash right now, would you use it to buy a house or continue investing in stocks? Which do you think is the thermometer for your financial planning, housing prices, or stocks? I hope to see your thoughts in the comments. I've always strongly recommended looking at real estate within the larger environment. It's not an isolated market, especially in American finance, where stocks and real estate are inseparable. If you like this kind of macroeconomic market analysis that helps you better understand the interaction between real estate and stock markets and control risk, we can schedule a topic like this weekly. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next exciting update.